Right then, once more with feeling. Hello and welcome to an AVForums video overview of the Neat IOTA 2 stand mount loudspeaker. My name is Ed Selly, I'm the hi-fi editor for AVForums. The IOTA 2, what is it? Well, it's this. You are probably noticing that this is a very small loudspeaker. How small is this loudspeaker? Well, if I reach down here, this is a Neat Petite Classic, a speaker which unironically uses the term petite in its name. It's been part of the review hardware for some time because it is, as far as I'm concerned, still the best £2,000 loudspeaker that money can buy. As you can see, the petite is, compared to an IOTA 2, it's not petite at all. This is a tiny, tiny speaker. It is a rehash of the original IOTA, which appeared in 2013, I believe. That's when I went to the Bristol show and first heard it. And it did the neat trick, no pun intended. You walked into the room, you saw these improbably small speakers playing, and your first thought was, where's the sub? And there wasn't one. This is a small speaker that absolutely 100% refuses to believe that it is in fact a small loudspeaker. Now, some of you who are less familiar with Neat will be looking at it and going, well, why is it this way and not bit, and so on and so forth? The answer is this tweeter. This is an EMIT ribbon tweeter, and it's been carried over from the original IOTA because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The way it's packaged is because this tweeter has to be arranged vertically. Now, if it was arranged vertically, it wouldn't be this height. It would be significantly taller. And it would also look, well, it would look even more odd than it does now. So Neat had the decision approach to park them, horizontally next to each other, which reduces the dimensions down to this very tiny box indeed. Now, the changes for this generation focus on this. The driver that partners the ribbon tweeter is still 100 millimeters, I should say, it's not 100 meters. 100 millimeters across, 10 centimeters, and that's not huge for something invited to do bass. It used to be made out of polypropylene because that's a material that Neat is extremely fond of. However, some of the tests and development work, including with the Petite Classic and other speakers that have appeared since the original IOTA, they have reverted to treated paper in an awful lot of their products, and this is no exception. So this is a treated paper driver. Internally, the crossover that connects everything together has then been revised to make full use of it being a paper driver, because paper and polypropylene do not behave in the same way. So there are tweaks and adjustments, and Neat won't tell you what any of those are. Neat crossovers are simple, but quite secretive. Connection, as you might expect on a box of this sort of relatively small stature, is a single set of terminals, and there is a port at the back as well, which augments the bass response. Now, obviously, some of you will be looking at this and going, yeah, but how much bass can you get out of a speaker that small? And I need to be clear, if you are watching this and you need clean, flat response down to 20 Hertz at plus minus 3 dB, amazingly enough, this is not the loudspeaker for you. But under testing, I've been running it, it's been shot on the downstairs system, but it's actually been upstairs, running with a blue sound node icon and a Chord Electronics T-Toby power amplifier. I've had measurable, and I mean properly, not freak blip response down to 50 Hertz. Now 50 Hertz is not true bass. I'm sure that someone will pop into the comments to tell me just that, but it's enough. And when we come to what this speaker can do, you'll have to decide whether that's worth the trade-off or not. There is one other trade-off before we get to actual sound quality, and this is an important one. Something has to give in the laws of physics. It's small and it has reasonable output. Because it's small and it has reasonable output, sensitivity is not that high. I don't actually have an official quoted figure for the IOTA 2, but it's broadly speaking the same size and the same basic layout as an original IOTA, and Neat quoted 84 dB for 1 watt of input power. This isn't huge, and it does mean that if you are looking at this video and you were looking at another video that we've just done, like the Audiolab versus Riga comparison, which is on the site, this might look like a perfect partner, but I'm not 100% sure that it is. I did some tests with the Audio Lab and it runs, it's fine, it produces output, but I didn't get the level of performance that I know that both of those products are capable of delivering. If on the other hand, you've got something like a Cambridge Audio CX A81 Mark II, musical fidelity is venerable but excellent M2 SI, things like that, which have just a bit more power and more importantly, a bit more current delivery, I think you'll be A-okay. Historically, the happiest partners for Neat products have been name, exposure, so on and so forth. So things like that, it's going to sound brilliant. Obviously, a Chord Electronics Power Amp was great as well, but I'm not going to pretend that that's exactly price comparative with the speaker itself. It's simply used for testing. In the good old days, the original IOTA came in all sorts of colours. Neat's been a bit more practical this time, so you have a choice of black or white. It's a sheen finish. Is it the most exciting and visually splendid item going? No, not really, but it is extremely well made. It's unlikely to scare the horses. If black doesn't work, white almost certainly will. So that's what's going on there. There is no grille, incidentally. This is what you see all of the time. The most important point about why you might consider spending £1,095 on, a speaker this size is that this works in spaces where most price comparative rivals just give up and go home. So long as this port is more than about, I was tempted to say 5 centimetres. 5 centimetres might be pushing it. 7 to 10 centimetres away from a vertical. It's unobtrusive. You can park this on some blobs of blue tack and stick it on shelves, and it does all of the things that I'm about to eulogise about. On stands, it looks a bit odd, but obviously it's as happy as Larry. One of the reasons why I was so keen to review this speaker, and I've reviewed a number of other Neat speakers, is because they simply do a level of fun and engagement that I just don't find in many other products. Now, someone undoubtedly is going to say, well, what's the measurement on that? I don't know. I can't measure fun. I mean, pints, it's a unit of fun measurement, I suppose, but it's not very useful for this. All I would suggest is go to a dealer, sit down and have a listen, and the likelihood is that you'll see where I'm coming from. There is just an ability to engage, which is, if you like, a combination of its responsiveness, the way it's damped and controlled, tonal realism, and just secret sauce more than anything else that comes together, and it sounds thoroughly engaging. And I don't mean you have to listen to ballistic music all the time. There's just a speed and control and cohesion to what it does that makes you want to keep listening to it. The other thing it does, we've touched on bass response, but that's only half the story. This thing sounds improbably large. It uses that ribbon to generate a very, very effective soundstage around the two boxes themselves, which has no gap or suck out in the middle. And it's a proper, compelling, three-dimensional stereo image. And there aren't many other things at this sort of size that can do that. Of course, if you do have a bit more room and you're placing speakers conventionally, there's no arguing that there's some serious competition to these. PMC Prodigy 1 is about 150 quid more, and it has bass response that obviously a speaker this size can't do. And then if you do really have some room, I'd be remiss not to mention the Mission 700, which is much, much bigger, but very, very good with it. And I thoroughly enjoy listening to that as well. This doesn't have the market to itself, and where the original was sort of £600 and you could make some allowances for that, £1,100 is quite a lot of money. However, there will be people watching this video going, I just haven't been able to get certain loudspeakers dialed into my space because it's not a traditional listening space. And yes, you can brutalise it with a bit of room correction and so on and so forth, but it's not necessarily a perfect solution. This reaches the parts that other speakers can't. It does things in a way in near field and non-standard positioning, even wall mounting, that puts it in something of a league of its own, and it never feels like a compromise whilst you're doing that, and that's the special bit. I wandered into Bristol this year, 12 years after the original. Maddeningly, they weren't running at the time, but I came back and they were doing the same thing that the originals were. People were asking, where's the subwoofer? Or they were confusing it with the Momentum, which was already on display, also on display and running, and costs quite a lot more than this. And they weren't necessarily convinced it was the little speaker running. It's this genuine sonic flair that makes this a very, very special product indeed. It's not an automatic recommendation because of its more sort of specialized nature, but it is a phenomenal product. I think Neat deserves to do extremely well with it, and it's something I would strongly urge you to check out in the circumstances just described. There is a full written review on the site. I'd be delighted if you went along to read it. I still feel that that's my better way of communicating than this, although who knows, I might be getting slightly better at this, I don't know. If you have enjoyed this, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. There will be more content. I'm trying to make it shorter and do a bit more, but we'll see how we go with that. And there's various things coming up in the not too distant future. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.